This textbook says the humans have an appendix that is vestigial. You don't need it anymore. Well, that's simply a lie. You need your appendix as part of your immune system. Now, if your appendix is taken out, you can still live, but you've got a much better chance of getting quite a few diseases, okay? The appendix is part of the immune system, and the fact that you can live without it is meaningless. You can live without both your legs and both your arms and both your eyes and both your ears also. Okay, that doesn't prove you don't need it. When you take it out, you've got a better chance of getting all sorts of diseases. We covered that in video 4. This textbook says the whale has a vestigial pelvis. Many organisms retain traces of their evolutionary history. For example, the whale retains pelvic and leg bones as useless vestiges. This is a lie. Andrew Carnegie founded the group called the National Center for Science Education. He was a strong believer in evolution, and he applied it to the business world. The strongest survive. You wipe out the competition. Andrew Carnegie funded the National Center for Science Education. National Center, yeah, all 4 of them in this little storefront building, the National Center. They say, Bossy evolved to blowhole. The whale evolved from a cow. That's what they teach. This one says, whales have a vestigial pelvis and leg bone that serve no purpose. Whales have hind limb bones that have no function. Just imagine whales walking around. It's true. Well, these are the bones they're talking about right there. Just imagine the whale walking around. The whale's pelvis has no apparent function. This is in textbooks all over the world, okay? The whale's pelvis is evidence of its evolution from 4-legged land-dwelling mammals. This is simply a lie, okay? Those little bones hold certain muscles that allow the whales to reproduce. This has nothing to do with the whale walking on land. It has to do with getting more baby whales. Tear that page out of the book, please. I have in my museum in Pensacola, Florida, a 15.5-foot skin from an albino python. Down at the south end of that python, you'll see it has 2 little tiny claws, one here and one here. These claws are attached to little tiny bones. They go up inside the snake's body. 15.5-foot snake with bones about 2.5 inches long. This textbook says this python has reduced hind legs, rudimentary hind legs of a python snake. This is baloney, okay? Those little claws are part of the snake's mating apparatus. They don't have any arms. They can't hang on. They don't have a voice box. They can't say, scoot over, honey. This has nothing to do. This one says, humans have a tailbone that is of no apparent use. I did a debate in North Alabama against the president of the North Alabama Atheist Association. He said, we've got proof for evolution. Humans have a tailbone they no longer need. I said, Mr. Patterson, I taught biology and anatomy. I happen to know there are 9 little muscles that attach to the tailbone, without which you cannot perform some valuable functions. I won't tell you what they all are, but trust me, you need those muscles. I said, now, if you think the tailbone is vestigial, then I will pay to have yours removed. Bend over. This textbook says, the coccyx is a small bone at the end of the human vertebral column. It has no present function and is thought to be the remainder of bones that once occupied the long tail of a tree-living ancestor. This is a lie, okay? You could use a tailbone if you had one. Okay, the tailbone is not vestigial. There are no vestigial organs, and if there were, that would be the opposite of evolution. That's losing, not gaining. This textbook says humans evolved from an ape-like ancestor. Every one of these along the way has been proven wrong. And once again, even if you could find fossils that we couldn't prove what they were, that wouldn't be evidence for evolution. You don't know those bones had any kids. So what about these cavemen? I mean, can an ape-like creature turn to a human? There's world's most wanted caveman. We could spend 6 days on this one. Every one of the so-called cavemen has been proven wrong. They're simply not correct, and they should be taken out of the book. This 2001 textbook says the horse evolved from a 4-toed ancestor. This has been proven wrong years ago. Back in 1950, G.G. Simpson said, he was a famous evolutionist, many examples such as the evolution of the horse family have been unintentionally falsified. The early classical evolutionary tree of the horse was all wrong. 1951, this has been proven wrong 50 years ago. Get that out of the book, okay? It's not true. He said it never happened in nature. Similar, humans and fish embryos resemble each other because humans and fish share a common ancestor. This idea that the human has gill slits is taught in textbooks all over the world. Let's see, the presence of fish-like structures shows that these animals have evolved from fish and share the basic pattern of fish development. It said it has gills like a fish. This is used in textbooks all over. Those are not gill slits. Those folds of skin develop into bones in the ear and glands in the throat. They never have anything to do with breathing. I've seen people with 5 or 6 chins, and they cannot breathe through any of them but the top one, okay? Ernst Haeckel made up this entire stupid idea after he read Darwin's book in 1860. He was an embryology professor in Germany, so he took a drawing of a dog and a human embryo, and he changed them and made them look alike. He lied deliberately to his people that were listening to him. He made giant charts of his fake drawings, traveled all over Germany, and converted the Germans to believing in evolution with his fake drawings. Now, on top are his drawings. Underneath are actual photographs of those creatures. Either he's a real lousy artist or he's a liar. Well, it turns out he's a liar. His own university convicted him of fraud. He said, I should feel condemned, except all the other biologists lie, so it's okay for me to lie. This biogenetic law is as dead as a doornail. It's not true. Take it out of the book. But guess what? It's still used in textbooks all over the world, including in this county. They're still teaching it. Proven wrong in 1875, and they're still teaching it all over the world. Now look, if you have some evidence for evolution, then please show me. We've been offering $250,000 for evidence for evolution for 10 years now. All they have to support their theory are lies, things that have been proven wrong a long time ago. We do spend 3 hours on videotape number 4, and I'm going to cover some of this tomorrow. Some of the lies in the textbooks. They say this, a similar structure proves a common ancestor. The bones in the different arms of these animals develop from different genes on the chromosome. They're not homologous structures. And the similarity could prove they have a common designer just as easily. This is a chart showing how the atheists think the different states are treating the subject of evolution. They think the folks in Minnesota are doing a wonderful job of teaching evolution. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You ought to get red like Florida. We're doing a lousy job. Yay, Florida. Richard Dawkins said, it's absolutely safe to say if you meet someone who claims not to believe in evolution, that person is ignorant, stupid, or insane, or wicked. Well, he's real open-minded, isn't he? Evolution's not a fact. It's not even a good theory. Evolution's a religious hypothesis. People believe that the animals changed. Nobody's ever seen a dog produce a non-dog. Now, I think two things. Number one, the lies should be taken out of the books, period. Don't lie to the kids. And then I think you'll find there simply is no evidence to support this evolution hypothesis, okay? And that's their problem. If you don't have any evidence for your theory, I'm sorry. I mentioned in a debate one time about 30 different lies in the textbooks, and this one professor said, Hovind, you want to take all these lies out of the books, and I got a question for you. What are you going to replace it with? I was speaking at the University of West Florida, my hometown, just about a year ago. One professor got up in the audience during Q&A time, and he said, Hovind, you mentioned tonight we should tear the pages out of the book. He said, I don't think we should deface textbooks. I said, well, sir, suppose you were teaching math, and you came across a book that said 2 + 2 is 5. What would you do? He said, I would tell my students to mark out the wrong answer and write in the right answer. Oh, you would deface a textbook? I said, now, sir, since you do teach biology, suppose you come across a book that says the embryo has gill slits or the tailbone is vestigial. What are you going to do? He said, nothing. I said, you're not going to tell the kids that's been proven wrong years ago? He said, no. I said, then you, sir, are a hypocrite, and the folks in this state ought to help you get an honest job picking peaches or changing tires, but you got no business using tax dollars to spread your lies on these kids coming to your class. Thomas Huxley was called Darwin's bulldog. He really promoted Darwin. His grandson, Julius Huxley, said, I suppose the reason we leapt at the origin of species, the reason we believed in evolution, was the idea of God interfered with our sexual mores. Ooh, now we got the truth coming out. Some people just don't like God telling them what to do. That's the bottom line. Well, listen, you do whatever you want with your life, but you're going to stand before that same God one of these days and be judged for everything you've ever said, thought, or done, whether you like it or not. Now, my recommendation is we get lies out of the textbooks, okay? If you got some evidence for a theory, then show me. But the evolution theory is hiding behind